What's up, YouTube? Dan with Dead Drug Gaming here today, and we are here super excited for the first ever Dead Drug Gaming Roundtable. We are going to be doing the show roughly once every week or so with 1 to 2 special guests. Today, we are lucky enough to have 2. I am going to be hosting it. I am Dan Garman, co-owner of Dead Drug Gaming, hosting alongside Danny A-Strike.
What's up?
My name is Cody. I'm a player from North Dakota. On Facebook, you might know me as Cod. Highlights for me, last year was my first full year playing, and I day 2'd Worlds in August.
And we also have Joe Grubb with us today.
Hey, I haven't done much in this game so far. People just might know me from all of my Snark and Verbank. That's about all I've got.
Snark and Verbank is all you need. So, realistically, what we're planning on doing with the roundtable is we're going to go on every single week. We're just going to talk about all things Pokemon TCG. We're going to go ahead today. We're going to talk about the general state of the game. We're going to talk about the upcoming Florida Regionals. And we're going to dip even a little bit into what we think about the new GX cards and summoning in general. So if you're super hyped for what we have going on, please make sure to hit the like button down below for us. And without further ado, I guess, let's go ahead and talk about, let's just get into the general state of the game. Joe, I know you have tons of thoughts on the prize payouts and the CP structure. I think let's go ahead and talk about the changes to where we're at from last year.
Yeah, I mean, the prize structure is good now that it's cash. I'll agree with everybody there, but I probably have the same complaints that everybody else does with the third and down only getting $250. I played online poker a lot in college, and that's not how a lot of the payouts would go with final tables. So I'd like to see something more like that, but I know that would probably mean a smaller payout at the top. But I mean,
that's okay.
Yeah, that's probably what I'd do. As far as the championship points go, I think it's going to be pretty difficult for a lot of players this year, especially with just the amount of travel that's going to be required now that you can have, 8 finishes with regionals.
Yeah, I think it was regionals and special events get.
Yeah, I'm hoping that those things kind of surprise us. Like maybe they'll plan some more things like Origins and just kind of have those sprinkled throughout the years, like little pop-up surprise events. Hopefully we'll get some stuff like that.
Was there anything besides that this past season? Or was
Not
that the only
offered
special
points,
event?
I don't think.
No,
and
I think that was
points
actually
for Origins was last minute too.
Yeah, just that last Origins event. That was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was kind of a strange one. I didn't know how to interpret that because this last time that was equivalent to a states, I thought.
Yeah, I think it was 100 to the winner.
Right, and there was a pretty low turnout. I mean, it was also last minute, but there was only 60 some players, right?
Oh, was it that low? I thought it was like 80 or 90. I knew it was under 100, but yeah.
I know it was a low turnout,
silly.
But it was. I mean, there was a lot.
It's also not planned out more than 2 weeks out, something like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty.
So you would assume they would do more this year and have a little bit more information about them, but you never know. I have no idea.
I would definitely assume that, especially with including it in the best finishes for regionals, you'd assume that there's going to be more than just one special event.
Right.
But again, it's all pure speculation. We didn't even get League Cups in Season 1, so who knows at this point what TPCI is planning on doing. So.
Yeah, so I wrote, I did write an article after they announced this whole change in the championship points, which you can find on Dead Draw Gaming. Originally, I was okay with 500 points for the championship cutoff, what you needed. Now I'm not as okay with it anymore, now that we just didn't get League Cups for Season 1, or quarter 1, whatever you want to call it. I think 500 points is a little much, and I guess they might change it down the road. We'll see, because I know it's possible they could lower it back down, but 500 seems a little bit high now.
They did make a point to include that all of these numbers are subject to change. So,
did they say that?
yeah, on all of the things online where they had the points out and everything, there was a disclaimer at the bottom of all of them saying that they're all subject to change. So, like, I thought it was odd that they put it up to 5, because they cut from states into 2 regionals that they cut out something like it was 40-some thousand points, and that's a lot. So when you do that and you put the cap up to 500 instead of 300, you're cutting out a ton of players. And I know that that's what people wanted, but now a ton of people are just not going to be able to go, which does make it more exclusive and everything. But
I mean, I definitely see both sides of the argument. You know, the people who got 500 points last year are like, well, there was more tournaments, but at the same time, it was still easy for them to get the points. But the 500 points says, well, I got 500 points. This is where I belong. And the people who barely scraped 300, just because you were able to hit your CP limit on LCs and cities, and you had to top 8 one states, there's your invite. And that's literally all you had to do to get your invite. And with no cash, payouts, last year there was no like incentive to, hey, go to every single tournament you can, because why?
Yeah.
They're not giving you anything extra. Like, you're going to get cards that you probably don't need. You're going to try to sell the boxes, get rid of them. Why? I mean, they're doing it because with the prize payout and the bigger things, they want every single player they can possibly get to go to as many tournaments as possible.
The thing that I don't like about the 500 would be that it largely incentivizes people to travel, and it's really bad on people that can't travel, because like a lot of students are going to have a tough time because they're not going to be able to have time to go. They're not going to be able to afford to go. I mean, like, each trip you're going to plan on a few $100s between like the plane, hotel, all that. If you need any cards, I guess, possibly. But that just gets expensive. And when the BFL is so high, you're kind of encouraged to go to more of them. So to me, a 500-point cap is basically limiting it to people that are able to travel a lot.
Well, one thing I did think TPCI did a good job of was kind of like spacing out the regionals. They didn't put regionals close together, like as far as area-wise goes. Like, we have Orlando this coming week. We had Arizona last week, and then, or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was. And then the one after that is Philly. Like, as far as those go. And then what's after Philly? Is Fort Wayne the next one after Philly?
Yeah, it should be Fort Wayne.
So, I mean, you talk about them geographically, at least. They're not super close by any means, so it is kind of giving players a chance to, all players and everywhere in the country, to not have to travel super far. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's people that are in Seattle that are going to be going to Florida because they can afford it, and why not if you can?
Yeah.
And vice versa. There's going to be players from Florida going to Seattle.
If I'm in it, I'm going to travel to the Pacific Northwest for one of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Why wouldn't you? I mean, because there's 14 regionals this year?
I'll count. One.
I mean, I like that they're all spaced out, so you can at least plan to go to a couple more rather than just cramming them in week after week after week.
Well, right, because before, it was like you had spring and fall regionals, and you had 16 regionals. You had 4 weeks. You had 4 weeks of each, where you had the same number of regionals. I think they cut out a couple Canadian ones. But you had 4 weeks of regionals, and most regionals you had sharing a weekend, sometimes tripling a weekend. And you don't have that anymore, with the possibility of Mexico City regionals. There's a lot of rumors going on. Oh, really? What's the date?
It's official now.
Oh, I guess I didn't even see it. June 3rd?
June 3rd, actually the same day as
So
as
it
Madison,
is sharing Madison. Okay. And I kind of figured that was all the rumors going around that it was going to share Madison. But having only one regionals shared, I think, is actually a good idea. I think that does help with the point structure as far as, needing to get 500 points. Again, it sucks having to travel that much, but I guess we also don't know, at what point is TBCI going to start giving away travel stipends? Is it going to be the same as last year? Are they going to start doing it, to get the players that are doing super well? Say you win the first 3 regionals you go to, you're at, because they upped it to 200 points for winning now, right?
Yep.
So you're at 600 points. You have your invite. Your incentive is to make more money, but does TBCI start giving away travel stipends at that point? Who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, knowing what Cody said about the numbers may change thing. I mean, is it possible that they could be just doing this semi-experimentally, looking for some sort of quota? I mean, if we get to April or May and only 20 people have qualified for Worlds, I mean, they might lower it until they hit a threshold to. You know what I mean? Though it's possible it could be. They might have a number in mind for how many they want to qualify, and they'll manipulate the numbers as need be. If they hit their quota, they'll leave it. But if.
I see some people possibly being upset about that. Maybe there's someone who was at 490 and they're like, I need points, so I'm going to travel and get to this thing. And as soon as they do, Pokemon's like, you know what, 400.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just spitballing. I don't know. It's probably very, very unlikely, but could happen.
Probably
with that disclaimer.
The week before Worlds actually happens, they'll make an announcement because they like to do last-minute things 2 weeks before.
Or sometimes, not at all minute things. They wait for, because we have 21 days left of the first quarter, and no one knows a thing about League Cups. So JVCI, we know nothing ever for anything. We're lucky we know how to schedule league challenges for this year. And even then, I haven't seen a lot of those going on. I mean, they're obviously there because that hasn't changed, but they're there. So, I guess, kind of talking about regionals themselves, this coming weekend we have Florida regionals. So the 3 of us aren't going to be playing in that, but one of us, Joe, is going to be playing in that. So I guess since you are planning on playing there, you already have your list all figured out for the most part, I think. Why don't you go ahead? Why don't you start and kind of tell us what you're thinking the meta is going to look like?
I mean, yeah, it's still subject to change in the week leading up to it, obviously, depending on what kind of hype we get. But yeah, I mean, I'm expecting a lot of the same. I've been tapped into a lot of the articles that have been written lately too. Six Prizes just had an article go up recently where they put like a tier list up, and I agree with it for the most part. I mean, I think you're going to see some of the staple good decks, Mewtwo, Rainbow Road, maybe even some Greninja, Volcanoes, some sort of something with Giratina, either Dark or Fairy. I mean, there's a nice sprinkle of everything going around right now. And it seems like a lot of the stuff's kind of going in waves for what's popular and what's not. I mean, I heard Volcanoes hyped for a while, and now I feel like Greninja's on the rise a little bit. And I don't know too much of what's going to go on. I think people might just play what's consistent and what they trust rather than trying to predict too much.
Yeah, well, the meta, I think right now, it's in such a weird place because we haven't had a big standard tournament to even try to think about what the meta is going to look like. I mean, obviously, there's all the ramblings going around, of course, with the articles, the tier lists, and Verbank. But, I think a lot of people are playing Mewtwo. That, I think, is going to be the number one, scene deck. I think that's going to be, the most played. I definitely think, though, that a lot of people are dropping.
Also because it's the easiest to play.
Fair.
deck is probably the most boring deck I've ever played in my life. That's why I'd never play it.
I had to go. But what deck?
Mewtwo.
Oh, I don't disagree.
Go ahead. But I've seen a lot of people are dropping Garbodor from their list to kind of get a more streamlined list, and they're playing higher counts of Hex Maniac.
I have seen that actually too, and I definitely don't agree with it.
See, and I think I don't agree with it either for multiple reasons. One, people are trying to play Greninja. People are gonna play Greninja. And two, volcanoes, which is, in my opinion, my very wrong opinion, is, I think, the top deck going into this regionals. I think it has, as far as everything goes, the most fair matchups across the board. While it does have losses, it can beat everything. It doesn't have an auto loss, and that's what I like about it. So
that's that's why people play most decks. So I mean, the deck's fairly easy to pilot. It's got good matchups across the board. It's probably not going to want to run into too many Greninjas, but I haven't tested the matchup too much. I can't imagine it's fun, but it's probably not unwinnable.
Yeah, it's definitely not fun. Cody and I actually played it the other day. It didn't go super hot for volcanoes, but a dead draw, I mean, that'll kill any deck. It doesn't matter what you're playing. It's hard to recover after 3 turns against Greninja if you've done nothing, whether or not they're attacking, you know. But again, I mean, especially with Greninja winning Arizona last week, we're going to see a whole ton of it. Even though it was expanded, I think that it's definitely going to be seen in standard.
Yeah, people know it's good. They're going to play it. Even with the threat of Garb, you're going to see it.
Speaking of, there's a new promo Greninja coming out. Do you know when that comes out? I know it like just got put out today.
I feel like it's November 3rd or something.
Okay.
November 2nd,
Well,
November 3rd.
save that.
So yeah, that probably won't be legal till Fort Wayne.
If even then.
Save that then, but I like it.
I'm gonna pull it up right now and see if I can find it.
I'm indifferent about it. I think it's all right. I think it's worth a one of. I think it'll be fun to help you snipe bigger things with giant water shuriken, but I'd still probably rather be shadow stitching.
True.
So it's going to be featured in a 3-pack blisters of evolutions, and will hit store shelves November 2nd. For those of you that don't know, Greninja, 130 HP, stage 2, blah, blah, blah. For 1 water, Aqua Shower. This attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness and resistance for benched. And then for water and colorless, it has dual cut, 60 damage, flip 2 coins. This attack does 20 times the number of hits. Very clearly, no one's going to be using dual cut. This card is definitely here for its first attack. I think the only thing that does, that isn't super cool about it is it does have a retreat.
Yeah, the retreat cost.
So that's kind of one of the big things that Greninja lived on was, being able to retreat with no energy attached between the, Greninja breaks to be able to giant water shuriken twice with only spending 2 energy and not 4. So that definitely does hurt it. However, the 20 damage to anything and then
it's 20 damage. I thought.
Or sorry, yeah, 20 damage to all. 20 damage to all that's a lot. You do that 2 turns in a row. Do giant water shuriken.
It is damage, right? Not damage counters.
Damage.
This is the translation from PokeBeach. So this attack does 20 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon. Don't apply weakness and resistance.
So it's not a mini Silent Fear.
Right. So I guess Mr. Mime stops it.
Yeah.
It would.
A lot of people are considering Mr. Mime in some of their... I know somebody I know who's considering playing Volcanoes is considering playing Mr. Mime to counter Fright Knight a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, Fright Knight can just terrorize some decks right now.
Yeah, I actually have that. Well, both of those decks down as my top picks. And mine definitely wouldn't be bad to throw in on it because Evil Tall is a terror. I did put Escape Rope up to 2. At one point, it was actually at 3, just because Fright Night's tough.
Too good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Evil Tall since what 2012? When was XY printed? It doesn't matter. His deck just literally never go away. It'll be good for as long as it's legal.
2014, I think.
Whatever year, 2012, 14, same thing. So.
Yeah, no, I definitely like Escape Ropes. I definitely like high Lysander counts right now.
Yeah, the other day was the first time I ever played a deck with 3 in it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't bad at all. So.
Yeah, I think unless you're playing Greninja or maybe a few other fringe decks, I feel like if you go in playing one Lysander, you're probably making a mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 2 is definitely a standard at the moment.
Yeah, I'm considering bumping to 3 in the list I'm considering playing.
I think 3 is actually really smart because without Battle Compressor to accelerate your supporter in your discard pile, you're struggling to draw into Lysander, especially with how popular Shaman's going to be in those easy targets on the bench. It's definitely something you want to up your supporter count in for Lysander. I mean, that's my own personal opinion, which I've been wrong several times before. So.
No, I concur. I like Lysander's a good card right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, Lysander's been a good card since it's printed, but I mean, last season, like, everything was playing 1, maybe 2, depending on the deck, but everyone was playing 1, only 1. And now it's weird to say this because a lot of decks will still explode on turn 1, but the game is slowed down.
Yeah.
So playing those higher counts, like whichever one of you said that with Battle Compressor gone, Danny with you saying, Battle Compressor gone, that's absolutely right. There's just a lot that's going to stop,
Right. So I'm pretty sure we can all agree then that Mewtwo's the top 5.
I think Mewtwo Guard is number 1 right now, in my own personal opinion.
I would say that's the deck to beat.
Yeah.
If you can't beat it,
don't go.
And it sucks too because if you can't beat it, like you have no chance. They can just not evolve and just damage change over and over. If you can't hit 170, that's it. In some cases, even 210, because I saw some of them are playing 1 or 2 Fairy Belts too. So if they ever opt to not evolve, they can just Fairy Belt damage change, and then they don't need a stadium.
Yeah, that damage change is killer. That Shrine of Memories it makes the deck so viable right now in Standard.
Everyone just play Ninetales.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Mewtwo's the deck to beat, and then you have, like Joe said, I mean, he kind of went through. I think Volcanoes is up there as top 3. I still think Dark Tina's probably really close to the top because I don't think it has a lot of problem matchups. I don't think it's as good as it was at the beginning when Mega Ray was hyped so much because obviously it's going to destroy Mega Ray, but it's just something that you can accelerate so quickly, and Tina is such a force and such a heavily mega format, which I think is where we are right now.
But it is kept in check by the vast amount of fairies in the format right now, though. There are like three or 4 incredibly viable fairy variants that people are playing, and that's definitely not good for Giratina.
That goes back to what you were saying before, Joe, when you were talking about it just keeps, like, things keep changing and everything keeps going in a circle, it seems. Because fairies were really popular, like, a month ago, and now I don't see them as much anymore as what I did a month ago. Now I'm seeing a ton of Volcanoes and Mewtwo still.
Yeah.
Which brings Tina back. So it's just...
And brings Greninja back around, yeah.
Yeah, Florida's going to answer so many questions. But
I
at the
do
same time, still cause
Darkrai Tina on my top plays, but it's actually not in my top 5. It's one that just fell out of it. Mewtwo, Volcanion. The next thing that I would point out, though, is just Fright Night, Yveltal, Mew.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, and I think that's one of those sleeper decks that's out there right now that not a lot of people are realizing, but Mew's obviously going to take care of your Mewtwo issue. And
Yeah,
Fright Knight's going to, I mean, 60 damage to the bench is killer, along with no tools. You're in such a heavily mega format. Again, that ruins it.
This is a deck that can't one-hit Mewtwo. It can't, unless you're playing a Darkrai, which, I mean, you could possibly, I guess, but
Mew kills it with an Evil Ball.
Yeah, if you're...
And that's the goal there. If they don't set up Garb turn 2, that's kind of your only fighting chance there.
Yep. The big thing in that deck that I am a fan of is going to be Umbreon, though. Umbreon is crazy. It just Ninja Boy, Umbreon, endgame.
Yeah.
Endgame.
It's too good. Yeah.
Somebody did that to me online the other day, and I was so angry and so happy at the same time because I'm like, wow, did not see that coming at all.
How did you not see that coming?
How did I not see that coming?
Because it's in the deck?
Because I didn't know that he was running it. And it wasn't a normal deck. Like, it wasn't anything that you have seen a lot of. Like, I forget. It was like a Hypno Darkrai deck.
Oh,
I haven't
weird.
played a lot. And then
Regardless.
random Umbreon that comes out. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, if you're playing against Dark, you should probably expect to see Umbreon at some point. I mean, if you're not playing Megas, then it's going to get tossed. But if you're playing Mewtwo...
I mean, it's not something that you would bank on, but it lets you draw. So, not a bad option.
I
Dead drawing.
I still don't think I'd worry about it, though.
So another deck, Cody, I give Cody a lot of crap about this deck, first of all, but I think Typhlosion has grown a lot in...
Yep.
It's a very solid list. It's very unexpected. I don't like going up against it because it's consistent. It's so consistent right now if you build it properly.
Well, it's consistent. It's consistent if you start the Talonflame. I feel like if you whiff the Talonflame, you're going to get benched out.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the major gamble with that deck, and probably not why I'd choose to run it in a 2 out of 3.
I almost prefer it in a 2 out of 3, though, just because that gives you 2 chances to start it. When you're playing, like, I
Dan shaking his head
with that deck fairly often, but you really only lose by benching out. You don't actually deck out that often. I've actually never decked out on it, and like I've played that deck a ton.
Mm-hmm. Do you play Mew EX in your list? I ran into one online playing that, and I wasn't sure how I felt about it.
I wouldn't.
It doesn't matter because you're not going to lose by prizes, but that's another starter.
Well, it's a way to preserve a Typhlosion in case you're having trouble streaming them too, because you can throw Mew up and set up another one instead of just throwing the only one you got up there.
Yeah, I mean, like, odds are if you can set up 2 Typhlosion, though, you're probably in a pretty good spot. Anyway, because I mean, 150 is a lot to attack over when you're attacking for up to 400 turn 2.
Yeah, and it's a lot like Greninja where it's slow to set up, but once it gets going, it's up.
You can turn 2 massive erupt. Turn 2.
The deck is probably more susceptible to end than any other deck in the format, though, and that's what it's got going against it.
Yeah,
because late game you're shuffling all your energies back in. Your deck is so top heavy with energies, and if you get end to 2, you're just going to draw fires, and you're just done.
And that's what I'm saying. It's slower to set up because if you're drawing into your deck at the beginning, you may get a Typhlosion on turn 2, Mega you're up, but you might not one-hit KO something that's out on the field. You should, but you might not. And I've had that happen to me before where the person who I was playing didn't.
That sucks.
I mean,
yeah.
The goal with the deck, obviously, in the first even 3 turns, is to either use or attempt to hold on to as many of the cards that aren't fire energies as you can. The goal because the deck plays 30 energy almost.
28.
You know,
28.
Yeah.
28, yeah. So, by turn 4, if you can help it, your deck is maybe 10 other cards and then 20 to 25 of those energies. So, it shouldn't be hard to massive ear up for 200. And, it definitely can be, but the goal is to take all those cards, and that's why starting Talonflame is so important in that deck. I think starting Talonflame is more important to get rid of those cards than it actually is to lose to being benched.
We have, a 50% chance of starting Talonflame? Because
assuming you play 4 Talonflame and 4 Cyndaquil, yeah. I mean, that's...
Yeah, because you're not playing anything else. Except, I guess, if you're playing a Mew EX. But...
I did actually drop my Typhlosion to a 3/3/3 instead of a 4/4.
Really?
Yeah. I know some people are playing candies in theirs. But the one that I was playing a lot, and the way I prefer it would definitely be randoms, Wallies, balls. That's it. I actually don't play any other supporters.
So given that you're only playing 3 Typhlosion, I'm assuming you're playing a couple super odds or multiple?
2 supers, 2 supers, 2 recyclers, 4 random receiver, 4 Wally, 2 level balls, 4 ultra balls. And then energy.
Yeah.
So that definitely is, I think, going to be one of the bigger sleepers for Florida. If you're playing it, you're crazy. I don't agree with you.
You hit.
Well, based on what he just said, then you're just scooping if you get Crystal Raid too. Then I guess.
Yeah.
And you can't even prevent them from setting it up.
Nope. Nothing. So
it's a very do or die deck.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh god.
I'm expecting to see 1 in 9 rounds. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, hopefully after 9 rounds, you're sitting 6 to 7 in X and O.
That round 1 though, you just never know.
I saw yesterday that there was already 505 registered masters for Florida.
Wow.
Which is absolutely crazy.
I think this will probably be the biggest regionals we ever see.
Oh, absolutely.
Maybe not ever, but the biggest one to date.
I think Fort Wayne will top it though, given that it's Thanksgiving and centralized.
Probably Madison will, or the end of the year when people are like, "Oh, I'm so close to my invite. I got to get to the last regional."
Madison's, yeah, and see, I don't agree. I think Seattle maybe is going to be huge, but Madison probably not.
I think the Midwest usually just has a good show, so like Fort Wayne, St. Louis. Because it's centrally located, obviously. You have to go across the United States to get there.
I mean, I don't have to go anywhere to Madison. I live about 15 minutes from the venue. So I mean, that's pretty sweet for me. But there wasn't even 300 players there last year.
Oh, really?
Very different format last year.
That's true, but still, I mean,
well, I think
you had almost 500 in Lancaster. You had over 500 in Fort Wayne last year. And Madison was still Madison was still under 300. Yeah, it wasn't by much, but it was. So, but
I think the end of the season regionals are going to struggle more than usual, kind of for the opposite reason that Danny said. Given that, I think this year you're going to see at the end of the year you're going to see a lot more people that just throw in the towel and give up because it's going to be not feasible. So why should I travel to a regionals in June when you have 100 points, And you're going to have a lot more people like that than people that are knocking on the door, given how hard of a grind it's going to be this year, I think. So I'm willing to bet the ones later in the year, you're going to see attendance dropping rather than everybody thinking they're in it right now, given that everybody's fresh. So everybody's going to regionals.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good point.
Well, Cody, you already have 40 points, right? Have you won an LC
70.
yet? Hey, you won 2 LCs.
Hey.
Cody's already at 70. Danny's at 6. Joe, what are you at?
I've got a whopping 10.
Hey, that is 10 more than I have. I have not played.
I got 3rd place playing Fight Alone Lucario.
Nice. I actually have that on my it looks like a top 12. It's just
Cody
So-
went like.
The deck is horrible in best of 3. You can't play it in best of 3 because once people figure out what they're doing, you're gonna lose.
they just don't bench things.
The element of surprise is what lets that deck win.
That's why it's pretty low. But
Yeah.
I have played it a couple times, and I do definitely think it's a fun deck. But it's going to be a fun League Challenge, League Cup deck.
Oh yeah. I had fun playing it at League Challenges.
So I'll be getting my first 15 points coming here this weekend. I'll be playing in LC, so Danny will get his next 12.
What's the hot play?
Cut that.
I probably will. I'm going to be playing Fall Canyon, so
I'm playing Groudon.
all the good players will be in Florida, and Danny and I will be at a League Challenge. So,
What about Groudon? Is that a sleeper potential too? I haven't seen too much hype about it, but I saw some guy post top 8 results of some goofy tournament somewhere, and there was a Groudon in top 8. I don't even know how big the tournament was, but
So Dan and Cody give me crap for playing Groudon right now, but I think that it has decent matchups across the board. I don't think there's a ton that just wrecks it. So I think I don't necessarily consider it a sleeper right now. I think there's a lot of stuff that needs to be figured out with it, but I think it definitely has potential because it doesn't take as long to set up with Card Bank Break, and you don't have to worry about item lock as much, so Mega Turbo is a lot more viable now.
I think we're talking about the wrong primal.
You're going to talk about Kyogre and how great that is.
Oh my god. Can we not talk about
and we
either of them?
haven't even talked about Cody's bees yet.
Oh, let's not talk
No.
about Cody's
Karen's-
BDIF deck.
Bees are good
Karen's
right now.
legal bees are
I like
gone.
them. Karen doesn't hurt it as bad as you'd think in my testing, because I play Karen in my list, and I've used it to try to slow him down, and it doesn't do as much as I'd hope.
It doesn't because they get their Klefkis back.
They get their Klefkis back, and they get all their unknowns back, and then they just Sycamore into a hand of them, and then they're right back to where they were.
Yeah, you're going to run up against Mewtwo Garb like crazy, and then you're destroyed.
It doesn't matter. Cody's about to tell you. Cody's about to tell you about
Mewtwo
Mega
Garb doesn't
Raichu
play Karen,
anyway.
though.
What's that?
Mewtwo Garb doesn't play Karen, though.
Doesn't need to. If you're not
I don't think it's a bad matchup.
if you're not one-shotting,
I'll give you 40-60.
we can argue about this all the time after this is over.
That's
You know,
true.
You can
That's
continue
true.
to disagree with me.
So before we go on to talking about the upcoming GX cards and the way the format's going, Cody, I know you have this written down, so let's hear it. Just tell me your top 12.
I'll just rattle them off. These are in no particular order, so I don't mean to ruffle any feathers, but I don't even have Gardevoir on the list, so all you people thinking about that, I think that deck is bad until Dragonite EX comes out. And then anyways,
I think Joe's gonna win and rub it in your face.
well, the secret's out now, isn't it, Danny? Mega Mewtwo Garb has to be up there. Volcanion has to be up there. Rainbow Road / Xerneas Break, Galvantula, other things. I've built this deck a dozen times, and every time it ends up being completely different. I was talking to Wambalt and a few other people about it, and everyone's opinion on it is completely different. Where I'm at now, I like Galvantula, Flygon EX, which sounds dumb, but it's actually kind of cool. Genesect EX is cool in there.
Really, why?
Regirock promo. It's a way to be able to move your tools around. It's another Pokemon that's searchable by Hoopa. Because like the first time I built it, I was playing Shamans, and I think that was actually my only EX. But Hoopa can turn into 4 types. So you can turn 4 types on the bench. EXP on Genesect, which can set you up for, you can drive change Ninja Boy, Xerneas, DC, and then you still have your experience. You can save your float stones, things like that. It's good. It's definitely worth
That's
playing.
that's just the first I've heard of that. Typically, the metal that people play is either Jirachi or Bisharp, I think. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, Bisharp's cool, but
I kind of like Bisharp.
yeah. So Cody, Cody, coming up on 40 minutes, so let's finish up your list real quick.
Eviltall, particularly Bright Knight, Mew, other things in there, but Scizor is up there for me as a mega. It's the only mega I would play personally, but people are all over Mewtwo. Rayquaza isn't worth ignoring, so it is in the top 12. I think that deck's terrible.
Yeah, I'm not big on it either.
In 9 games, you will likely play against it once. So, Greninja, it's good. Typhlosion, either Darkrai Tina, Xerneas Great Tina, or some derivative there. Magnezone is not even bad. It's not. I wouldn't bring it to Florida personally, just because guard potential is pretty high at the moment. But there's a lot of things that you can do with that deck, particularly with Mew. I've been playing it with Mew, Lugia, Raikou, and that allows you to do a lot of different things. It's good stuff. And then naturally, I can't leave out double colorless deck. The way I would be going now would probably be a thicker Raichu and a thinner Vespiquen, but Zoroark and Yan Mega aren't terrible options. Yan Mega I don't like. I just don't think it's that good at the moment. And Zoroark is in the same boat. I just prefer Bees.
I can hear the comment section screaming at you right now.
Same.
So you basically just said, of these 5 attackers, pick 2 or 3?
Yeah.
Play all 5, man. Go wild. Play every matchup. So we got our top 12. Talked a lot about what we're going to see at regionals, what cards to expect. I think let's, before we end the day, let's go ahead. We have had so far 4 different Pokemon GX cards released. All sorts of crazy stuff going on with those. We don't know everything about them yet, so we're definitely going to be theory mining a little bit here. But Cody, I know you have all sorts of ideas on what you think about these. Personally, I love Snorlax GX. It's so bad. The art is amazing, and I can't wait for it. But Cody, why don't you go ahead and tell us what you think about these new GX cards?
Snorlax will definitely look good in the binder, but I don't see it doing a lot else outside of that. What's the name of the one that got put out yesterday?
Lurantis.
I like it. I don't want to say if I like it better or worse than any of the 2 that were put out before until we know what their attacks cost, though. And it's down. Soul Galeo is a free switch every turn, and there's a lot of decks that'll be able to benefit from that. Of course, depending on what the energy cost ends up being, I think this is very wishful, but if it attacked for even 4 colorless, Volcanion will definitely play a copy of it. But it's a steel type, so odds are it's going to have a steel in there somewhere. Dan's giving me this look. It'll allow you to drop your escape ropes. I was playing 3 of them. So if you can conceivably just play any.
So that one gives you the free Lysander, or what is free switch? Okay.
As an ability.
Sorry. Yeah.
The attack, the GX attack isn't as applicable as the ability, but the ability is awesome. The GX attack, again, we don't know the cost, but once per game, you're able to attach 5 energy from your deck to your Pokemon in any way that you like. It might be to your bench, now that I think about it, but I don't see that being useful in Volcanion, but it's possible, depending on the cost again. Lunala is the name of the other one, I believe. Lunala, yeah. And that currently is the one that I like the best. And that one has an ability where you can move psychic energy, which we've seen in the past a lot with things like rainbow energy, double dragon energy. It'll allow you to continue to abuse max potions, things like that. It'll open up some cool things with potentially a psychic toolbox now, not unlike fairy toolbox back in the day.
Yeah. And again, we are totally theory modding. We literally know 4 cards of the upcoming set, maybe a little bit more that I've missed.
Deep into it.
But I think going based off of what we've seen in the past, I personally am most hyped for Lunala. I love abusing the energy transfers. I played the hell out of fairies when it was the thing. I loved, I tried to make Hydreigon work when it was the thing. I tried once for Golduck. That one was not so lucky. So that one I kind of scrapped right away. But the ability in general is too good. And now that it's on a basic Pokemon, I mean that's definitely what I'm hyped for. But again, this is all in theory.
Do we know how much HP those two have yet? I can't remember if those were covered up or not.
They were 190 and
190.
I think one of them.
I know the Lurantis
was. I think. Well, it's a stage
I don't
one.
think the HP was put out on them.
Really, I thought Luno. I could have swore I saw it on one of them, but
no. But they do have attacks. Lunal's attack I forgot to mention here, but its GX attack is just straight up knock out one of your opponent's basic Pokemon that isn't a Pokemon GX. That's absurd. You don't know how much it costs, so maybe it's going to cost a ton, but I mean...
Given its ability, it's probably going to be a big investment so that it's easy to revenge kill it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's true. Also, though, its normal attack does 120, and this is definitely going to play into its ability a ton, but the defending Pokemon can't be healed during your opponent's next turn. And it's a psychic type, so it is on its own kind of a counter to Mega Mewtwo. Which is pretty cool because the attack does 120. So
yeah. So my thoughts are that I'm not going to be quite as long-winded, but I think it's cool. I think it's cool that we have Stage 1 GX cards. I think that means that we're not going to have Mega cards anymore, which is pretty cool.
Or EX card, probably.
Or EX cards, probably, yeah. I think Solgaleo is the best of the 4 that have been released so far, personally, because of its ability, and I think its attack is actually pretty decent too. And then I actually think you probably could make Snorlax work. Somebody will make it work, partnering up with Raticate or Raticate Break or something. I don't think it's going to be great, but I think it does have some sort of potential to play at like League Cup, League Challenge type thing for fun, because who doesn't want to play Snorlax for fun? And I think it could hold its own. Yeah, I think Solgaleo is best of the 4 so far, personally.
Absolutely. These GX cards, again, going to say it for a 3rd time because I can hear it in the comments. It's all theory. We have no idea what any of these cards are going to be like or what the rest of the cards are going to look like. But we should be finding out within the next couple of months what this set's going to look like. We do have the release of Evolutions coming soon. And then I believe Sun and Moon is set to drop on February 3rd. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. February 3rd. So not too terribly long away. So But we're going to go ahead. We're going to wrap up today's roundtable. I'd like to thank Joe and Cody for joining Danny and I today. It's been super great talking to you guys. Of course, as always, make sure to check out deaddrawgaming.com for any Pokemon TCG singles you may need, along with sealed product. You will find us on Twitter. You will find us on Facebook. You'll find us right here on YouTube. You'll also find us on Twitch, and every once in a while on Twitch, I will be playing games that aren't Pokemon. So you're looking for just a regular kind of gaming channel, you might even find me there. So follow us on everything. Share this video with all your friends. Again, make sure to hit the like button down below for us. And for all four of us here today, thank you so much. We're signing out. Bye.